I've gotten like better at like sort of like regulating emotion to an extent. So I still let emotion control so much of what I do, and that I'm back and forth always, you know. But when I was younger and I used to write like this, I just let it all go down, like anything, you know. Like even if I have like an aggressive like thought towards myself, or like you're not doing this properly.
Would you feel better after?
It would be like I'd be so on to the next thing that I'm like I didn't even like
you forget you
let the time give it time to like feel it, like, you know. So like, but it's such a, it created like a funny balance, because I'd say some like really like mean shit to myself, and then like one line space, and then down I'm like, all right, new idea for this or whatever, you know what I mean? So you're just like it's like, I don't know.
Well,
it
at least
to an extent.
You'd feel it, you know. You'd feel it, put it down, acknowledge it. I think the worst thing is not acknowledging.
Yeah.
Or denial. I think denial is the worst, because denial. I'm pretty sure you know, like the idea of the shadow. Like denial and just pushing it, feeding it to the shadow.
Yeah.
And then the more you feed, the bigger it gets, and one day it'll just explode.
100%.
And you do not want that, because that's psychosis happening.
Yeah. No, 100%.
You do not want psychosis.
Yeah, so the interesting sort of thing that's, I guess, happened since, right? So that was the year before the pandemic had begun. And I...
Did you take the pandemic wrong? Like, did you take it bad? Like, did it affect you, like...
Yeah.
In terms of anxiety?
It affected me pretty poorly, I think.
Really?
Well, so I had just found the sort of, like, comfortable new feeling of, like, I'm meeting new people and making new friends, and I feel like I'm in a good spot, because I feel like in high school I neglected a lot of the sort of like extroverted part of me that wanted to engage and wanted to interact, because I was usually pretty shut off. So
you were getting into that pocket?
I found it, you know, and I got the pocket, and I was making new friends, and I was feeling good, and
boom,
we were on the up and out, and then me and my girlfriend were doing great and stuff, and the pandemic hits, and it's just like, you know, immediately like
cancel all of it out.
Yeah, it's just all like tangibly it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But the way that interacts with what my writing and stuff, and how I was sort of like getting into journaling for myself was, you know, like pre-pandemic I would go about a normal day to day, and my writing in that capacity would be me sort of like wrapping up what happened and placing it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Whereas it transformed into the pandemic when I wasn't able to go out and experience the sort of normal things that I would hope to experience. It became a matter of practicing emotions. So I'd have certain feelings that I'm not getting the same sort of like, I guess like relationship feel in terms of my friends and stuff. I'm not seeing people, like everybody's, you know, kind of like isolated and stuff. So I was still writing, but nothing was happening, you know? So it became a matter of like, just figuring out like how to kind of like, in a healthy manner, like practice emotions that are normal that you should.
You would write about things that were happening, and once things stop happening,
you like that energy had to go somewhere. You know what I mean? So it became a matter of like, how can I practice emotions in a healthy way? How can I sort of feel normal things that you would feel on a day-to-day basis when they're practically incapable of happening? And then that's when I moved away from doing that into just like just being entirely consumed by like the art that I like and stuff, you know, be it paintings or music. I would just like, these are pieces that express emotional states, and for an hour or for a period of time I can envelop myself in that emotional space and practice it. I can be like, this is what it's like to feel sad.
You get it shade by shade.
Yeah, I might not feel sad right now, but here's what it's like to feel sad, and I should know how to feel like that. So through art I moved away from my sort of self-critical outside manifestation to I find peace and emotional comfort in these other things, essentially.
Would you find yourself, even though you wouldn't be feeling those things at the time, would you find that like from getting consumed into like I don't know, painting about it or
Yeah.
drawing about it, that you'd start to feel it.
100%.
It's crazy.
And I still feel like that now because
It's a good sign.
Yeah. So when I paint now, it feels really good because I can sort of I can recognize an emotion that's happening and know the sort of telltale things that cause me to know that emotion is happening. If that makes sense.
Do you find more often that you decide a feeling you're gonna paint about first, or do you sometimes
Other way around.
You'll start to paint and then try to figure out
Oh no, maybe it is the first one.
what's the feeling that's happening?
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes, like, I mean, that's the way I work, where I won't think before I jump in.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. I'll make let's say like I'll start working on a song or something.
Yeah.
I'll have an idea come up.
Yeah.
And then I'll start working on it without really taking in what's happening. And then
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm done the session and I put it into my iTunes and
Yeah.
then I can listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is the feeling that's happening. And I'm like, oh, is this how I'm feeling right now? And then it's like this whole thing.
So it's not that for me.
It's you have a
different.
feeling first and then you try to go off of
I
it.
have a feeling, then I'll sit with it for a bit and just be like, what am I feeling right now? Like, what's the sensory sort of experience I'm having right now? And then when the perfect sort of like kind of like crossroad moment happens where I have enough inspiration to express myself through it and I'm feeling it at the same time, that cross, that's where I find my groove. And when I get into it, I can just be like, I'm feeling this right now and this only, and I can I'm allotting the next hour to myself to just like express this feeling through medium, essentially. So it's like,
whoa, I see.
You know what I mean? Like I rationalize everything, so I give myself a little bit of time to rationalize what I'm feeling, and then I'm like, okay, express it, get it out, put it out. Just
would you say the moment when you're like ready to start making like art about it is when you feel like you understand what you're feeling, like you're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on,
or maybe even less of understanding and more just like, I'm gonna confront it now, I'm cool with it. You know, like I felt it for just long enough in this moment, whatever it is. So
you just jump in fully. And
yeah.
Like, let me.
So I'm like, all right, let me
envelop myself fully.
Let me start the.
That's crazy.
You know when you.
It takes balls.
You when you get maybe, but you know when you get like a boss battle in a video game, like the enemy bar shows up at the top with his health. You know, I'm like, that's the moment where inspiration strikes. I'm like, all right, let's knock off the HP points a little bit.
I finished the side quest. I finished taking all the right potions and power ups.
You walk into the room and the bar goes across the screen.
I'm
like,
equipped with the right tools.
It's about to happen, you know.
The bar is here. Let's get to it.
Yeah, and that's what I find.
Nigga, that takes balls.
It
feels.
It's
it
honestly,
might feel like a small, minute thing, maybe because like that's how you've always done it. But like, bro, a lot of people's shit going downhill is because they can't, like, they're too afraid to even do that.
Yeah.
Or instead of doing that, they try to find some kind of substance to outsource it to.
Yeah, or distraction.
Or
right,
fucking
just to not think about it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot easier, is to just not feel what you're feeling, you know. And I'm no better for that than a lot of people. There's definitely moments where I should be critical and I'm just, you know, kind of floating through things. But at the same time, you know, I feel like there's something to be said that at least I'm finding, especially within the group I've been in the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, where I'm like, I can come to terms with emotion and just like just do some small reparative work to just like, all right, cool, just put it out, like, just, you know, and just, I don't know, maybe I'm rambling, but like, just like painting has been like such a free medium for that, because you can just, it's like it's entirely in your hands. The whole thing is in your hands. Like, you can just feel a color that day.
And oh my god, yeah, that's one of the things about painting and drawing is it's super tactile, so you can touch it. You can kind of interact with it way more. Like music, it's very more digital or film or video, but like painting is like the canvas is right there, like has a physical thing.
So when it comes to music, and an interesting parallel I've thought about recently is music and fashion are sort of similar, because in creation within those two mediums, you have to engage with and confront the sort of historical contexts of what you're participating in.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the fashion example, you know, like a suit is a suit, and that's been around for a very, very long time, much longer than I have been, you know? So when you are practicing expression within that medium, you have to constantly be conscious and engage with the historical context. In the same way that with music, you'll have certain, even just rhythmic conventions that you have to adhere to. You're in 4/4 regardless,
4/4,
or 3/4, whatever it is.
6/8.
You're in one of those, and one of those is going to have its historical contexts. You know, that you
gotta be conscious of it.
There's a whole entire history behind you that participated in that particular medium. You know,
such a good point.
So that's what makes it so different from painting, and what actually scared me about painting for so long, because I find it became easy for me in some contexts to just fall comfortably into just I exist within this sort of realm. With painting, like, you're going to have those conventions, absolutely. You can go impressionist, you can go abstract impressionist, you can go whatever direction, but you don't have to. You can, you know what I mean? It can be whatever.
Yeah, I think modern. I was reading about this in my philosophy of art class.
Mm-hmm.
He was giving us historical context. I think I think it was either modernism.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was modernism or like it was postmodernism when
like post 1960.
Like the abstract,
roughly,
when niggas was like, yo, I'm tired of, why are we making pictures?
Yeah.
Like let's start painting feelings and shit. Like, let's stop representing things we can already see. What about the things we can't see? How do we put those onto a canvas?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That was new. Like that's what's been tripping me out recently.
Crazy.
Like there are things now that we take for granted that were new at a certain point.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
It was a new idea to go, let me not paint this face this way.
It's such an interesting concept too, because nowadays nothing feels novel.
Postmodernism.
Nothing feels new. Like
postmodernism.
It's true.
It's like everyone's in their own bubble.
Yeah.
And because now everyone's allowed to live in their own bubble, we don't need to like find a thread between everything anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone can just have their own thing going on.
Well, when you can sort of do away with concepts like objectivity, even, or sort of institutionalizing
out the window
objectivity, where you can sort of like, you know, decide through conventions, even within like a painting capacity, what art goes and what doesn't. Like, there's a very clear mold to be broken, but now there isn't really that, because
there's nothing to break.
We've accepted that different perspectives will yield completely different existences, you know, and it's just like I don't know what my existence yields, you know, so it's complicated.
Every person is their own brand.
Yeah.
Every person is a brand.
Yeah.
There's 7 billion brands out there.
Yeah.
Like no one's operating under one thing. Like religion's lost its validity for the most part. So it's like
at least communal validity. Yeah.
Now it's like fully your responsibility to make some sort of meaning and something to operate by.
And there's like this like very teenage like carnal desire for me to just be like, oh, like fuck a thing, I'm doing something else. You know what I mean?
But that's
like,
one of the things.
But
now
it's just like there's too many. Like, there's no mold breaking. There's no concise counterculture to. Nothing's
new anymore.
To adhere yourself to, you know. So.
It's really strange. Nothing's new anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's like. That's what's happening also in movies a lot, and music is all that's happening now is people are going back to the old things, like Matrix 4, Batman, like franchise. It's either franchising or
even with music through sampling.
Sampling has always been the thing, but what's strange is old genres, 80s, like literally The Weeknd just dropped the 80s.
Yeah, maybe I use the word
pop.
sampling too, like liberally, like like reinterpretation, I guess, right? Like,
and it's funny because I'm wondering if it's always been this way, and we're just like in our own era watching our own version of it happening. Because I saw Matrix and like that was one of the new one. I went to see it in the movies, and like I was disappointed in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I was happy about how disappointed, because it just confirmed so many things.
Yeah.
About how like is everything that's going on, like is it just this cycle that we go through, and then we rebel against that cycle only to get into a new one.
Yeah.
For that to be rebelled against, and then to adopt a new one, and then to do that over and over again.
Yeah,
and is that what we're becoming hyper aware of right now? That cycle of cycle breaking.
Yeah, like on a very conscious, like
we're seeing it on a bigger level.
Yeah.
Because we have access to so much information.
It's wild. I feel both like completely privileged as well as like entirely overwhelmed with the idea that I could just with time know whatever I need to.
Because we're not only aware of like the changes happening now, but we're aware of the changes that have happened since the dawn of man.
It's crazy. I don't know. I have friends who are much smarter than I am, who I talk with about philosophy and stuff, and there's certain theories that are so complex that I can't engage with them at all. But they they just do, like, they try so hard to just like deconstruct everything, and I'm like
philosophy is so fun.
Yeah,
philosophy is so fun. That's one thing I want to read more of. But there's so much foundational things.
It's tough.
Like you have, like I'm realizing these days, like I actually have to, if I'm to understand anything that's happening now in that realm, I have to go into like Greeks.
You gotta read way back.
You gotta go way back. You have to read like Republic. You have to read fucking all those old BC people.
Mm-hmm. Even just a lot of the sort of like, let's say 1960s French culture, for example, that we were talking about New Wave and stuff, right? So you've got like Sartre, Camus, like Foucault. You know, when you read any of their individual works, it becomes even more difficult because you need to be up to date on the literature.
It's a conversation.
Of that time.
It's a conversation going
between
know all of
what they're talking about, and it's like,
and what they're doing is having. It's not only like this is them talking between each other in their own era. They're also talking to the era beforehand. Yes. Which is talking to the era beforehand.
That's what's so complicated.
Which is talking to the era beforehand.
Yeah.
And then it goes back.
And when I can't even really draw the line between my era and their era being the beforehand, I'm like, I don't understand what it means to philosophically engage with my previous era in a meaningful way. It's fucked up. Let alone analyze the engagement of another group of people, you know?
How do you think we're doing? Like, I don't know, because my reference for the past few weeks has been getting on TikTok. Yeah. And watching like the trucker thing was very interesting.
It certainly was.
But it feels like, to me, the thing about postmodernism is it feels like everyone can live in their bubble without the need to try to like entertain the other.
We don't exist in shared reality anymore.
Yeah, that's what, like everyone's in their own world, and they're guarding that shit with their life.
You know, we kind of do our best to ameliorate the sort of factual differences where we can, but with the online presence, it's futile. I think it does not matter.
The amelioration these days feels like it's performance.
Yeah,
like
I can't a lot of senses.
The let's have a discourse.
Yeah.
Like the open discussion shit feels like
discourse is pretty weak right now.
Feels like a performative thing.
Yeah.
Let's pretend like we want to listen to each other.
Yeah. Just
so we feel like we're actually being like morally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%, right? Because it looks like the better position to have.
Yeah, these days I feel like everyone has their minds made up about whatever bubble they're in. Yeah. And then they have the discourse just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. It's
but at crazy. The end of the day, it's like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah, you're just wrong to me.
You're just wrong. Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like.
I don't know. I think I just like it's so difficult. I've got family that just like outer family and stuff where I'm like, we can't even engage, man. Like I can't talk with you about these things because we're not even working with the same sort of
different
foundations
like
anymore.
What's the word? Paradigm.
Yeah.
Completely different. Like
100%.
That concept is crazy. Like there's a whole like matrix of system of thought.
Yeah.
That someone could be operating from.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing about like how was that one of my philosophy? Yeah, my philosophy class that I'm taking is philosophy of technology, and it's they were talking about how people past Aristotle's time were criticizing him for theories that he had and how they were wrong, but then they realized those theories were right in the time
within the context
and paradigm that he was in.
Yeah.
And then now they seem like absurd, like laugh it off.
It's crazy.
But now if you entertain the entire like context into what she was thinking, you might actually start to see. You might actually learn.
He was acting logical in his basis.
Because if you're playing by the rules he's playing in, then his insights will give you. If you just take the insights from that world and try to take it and recontextualize it to.
Yeah. So we're used to engaging with
crazy.
The historical context on that level. What we're not used to engaging with is me and you not being in the same realm. You know what I mean? Maybe not actually me and you, but like say me and like a family member who just like we can't see eye to eye because it's just not foundationally there for me and you to see the same thing.
It's a filter.
Yeah. It's like, it's not even a filter, you're wearing the wrong pair of glasses, you know what I mean? Like we're like seeing things completely different, you know? So it's complicated. I think I'm pretty kind of a doomer about it in that I think a lot of it's algorithmic in a way that's like super like.
That's why I want to study, I really like, me and my girl is like, she's been on my ass about it. She's like, you really need to learn coding. And I'm like, I feel like
like programming?
Yeah, because what's happening, especially with a lot of AI things, we're trying to like, can we like through computers because I don't know much, so I can't even.
I'm not super knowledgeable.
Completely ignorant. Yeah. But like we're trying to reproduce the way our brains work for the most part.
Yeah.
Through computing.
The rationalization process.
So for that to even happen, you need to learn I feel like from that you learn a lot about neuroscience. You learn about a lot about just decision making because a lot of it is if then. If X then Y.
Yeah.
So I feel like even on a philosophical basis, there's a lot to learn. Because I mean, science is just actually my philosophy of technology class. That's just one of the ways to view technology. But a lot of people say like science or technology is science applied, and science is philosophy applied.
Oh, that's a very interesting take.
Because philosophy is just making a bunch of claims and then writing about,
especially like metaphysical claims and stuff.
And then science is kind of like, show me.
Like I'll be the judge.
Because a lot of what's happening these days is science is proving a lot of shit that like 2,000-year-old religions have been saying. And
just crazy.
All that's happening is we're trying to falsify these things, and then if we don't falsify them, then it's actually true. And
it's crazy.
And it's constantly. Apparently, that's why Einstein's thing is so impressive. E equals MC squared is because since he's created the theory, it has yet to been falsified. And like
it's so beautiful. It's
crazy. You, like for something to withstand the falsifying test, just gives it more validity. Like it makes it more and more of an actual like fact.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I have to practice that at school often because I'm in a entirely science and technology based program, and a lot of what I do now is just analysis of articles and stuff where you just have to read these really dense, complex scientific papers where you just have to like point by point be like, I don't like how they did this. This wasn't very good. This has a grounded, something that could be falsifiable.
I think you were telling me like your papers are long, right?
Yeah. Well, the ones I read are way longer than the ones I write, but the ones I read, like on average 28 to 35 pages, and then the ones I write 20 to 25.
I'm on year 5 and the longest I'm still writing is like 6 to 8 pages.
Yeah, a lot of it's tables and graphs, so like a lot of it is like taken out, but you got to be pretty condensed, especially in last year, which I am, so in terms of tangible writing, like it's quite a bit, and I think that's why like I felt the need to sort of distance myself from writing just a bit, because I'm writing in an artistic context now on top of my school writing. So I did like a calculation, like on a weekly basis I'd be writing for like my publication like 2,800 words. Well, actually upwards to like 3,500 words if you include like small like little excerpts and stuff on top of school, where in school like in a given week if I'm like really busy,
so you're just,
it could be 5k 6k words, which I'm constantly, I just get tired. So that's why painting is just so isolated, because I'm just like I don't have to like
the washroom empty. Shit. What time is it? 6:47. I can actually drive you home.
Oh, word, no way.